What's good, y'all? Welcome back. The article I was gonna react to, I didn't like how it looked, so I'm gonna do something else instead. This is off the fly. I'm gonna just talk a little bit about each NBA team. I'm gonna set a timer for 30 seconds and talk about each team. So if you get through this video, I appreciate you because it might be a longer one. Leave a like, subscribe if you are new. We're almost to 500. If you hit that subscribe button, man, I appreciate you. Let's go ahead and get into it. 30 seconds starts now. Okay, let's talk about the Phoenix Suns. Best team in basketball all year. Chris Paul is now back. They didn't look great last night, but they were able to get a win. That's the most impressive thing about this team is even when they don't play great, they still find ways to close games out. And even though Jordan Poole went off last night against them, they were able to close that game out down the stretch. They outplayed the Warriors, even though they're missing Steph Curry and you know, a bunch of other people, but they were able to win that game 62-14 on the season. Still think this is the head and shoulders team that's better than everybody, man. I'm excited to see what their playoff run looks like. And next we got the Miami Heat. They beat the Celtics last night. As a fan, it looked very questionable with the officiating. It was just a weird game, man. It was letting a lot of things go, but we got to get used to playoff basketball, and the Heat needed that win in the big time way. They're back to the 1 seed now, when it seems like last week they couldn't get a win. Now they're back to the 1 seed. They got a game lead on the next closest team, which is the Milwaukee Bucks. Still a team that I think is a contender in the Eastern Conference. I still think they can make a lot of playoff noise, and this team knows how to ramp it up in the playoffs, so we'll see how it goes for them. And if I go over, don't even mind, but let's talk about the Memphis Grizzlies. They have locked up the 2 seed in the West, 54-23 on the season. I'm sure nobody really saw this coming, and if you did, you're probably lying if you say that. There's a clip somewhere on the internet of me saying I think this team might not be much better than last year. They might be a playing team again, and now they have at least home court through the first 2 rounds if they make it that far. So without Ja Morant, they're still playing great, even though the teams that they've played without him are not great teams that they beat, but you still have to win those games. Guys have to step up, and this team is next man up as they come. Now let's talk about the Bucks. I talked about them a little bit in my last video. They got a big win the other night. I still think that this is the team in the East, man. This is the team that I think is just the most solid. They're the most solid foundation out of everybody else. You got Giannis, who just ramps it up in the postseason. He's already looking like he's in playoff mode. And then guys like Jrue Holiday have been really good this season. People forget Jrue Holiday was kind of bad offensively in the postseason last year. If they can get what Jrue Holiday is giving them, you know, in games this season, it's going to be scary for them in the postseason, man. And Brook Lopez coming back is also a big time thing. They're getting healthy at the right time, which I think is going a little bit under the radar. Those Mavericks are now the 3 seed in the Western Conference, man. Luka put on a show last night in Cleveland. He was amazing. I've talked about them a lot, so there's not really much else I can really say about this team. But I will say, if they can stick in this 3 seed range, they have a real chance to make it to the conference finals. A real chance, man. It was going to be tough if they would have to go against Phoenix potentially in the second round matchup. But now, you know, you're potentially playing Memphis or somebody else. I think that's a winnable series, man, because they will have the best player on the court. Luka Doncic will be the best player on the court if they play Memphis, or if they play, well, maybe not if, you know, Denver falls to the 6th seed or something like that, but they'll have a chance because they have Luka Doncic. Still not sold on Philly. I'm really not sold on them. And I've said it, I think it was on my podcast. I said it like, they're a contending team, but they're on that like echelon of where I think everything has to really go right for them to win the championship this season or even make the finals. There's just so many holes on this team. Like, there's a lot. Defensively, there's holes. They don't have a lot of outside shooting, really any outside shooting other than Georges Niang, who's really the only guy that is like competent enough defensively. But I mean, he was tasked with guarding Giannis the other night. It was terrible. And Doc Rivers, still kind of questionable, even though he's one of the top 15 coaches of all time or something like that. Questionable team, man, but they'll have a chance because they have Joel Embiid, who's arguably the MVP, and they have James Harden. See, I was talking about Philly for like 45 seconds, man, if you're counting at home, but let's talk about the Warriors. A lot of their season is going to be predicated on whether Steph Curry comes back healthy or not, and when he comes back. Right now, they're sitting at the 4 seed. They would have to play Denver in the first round, and I'm not super confident that they could easily beat Denver, especially if Steph Curry's not 100%, man. They need Steph Curry to come back and play like he was early on in the season, which, you know, it's been very inconsistent with this team, man. I was on the side all season where I didn't really see all the hype around this team, and it's tough to tell with injuries. They've dealt with a lot this season, but it's at the wrong time that Steph Curry's, you know, still hasn't been really reevaluated. So we'll see how that goes. That's really how I'm going to determine what I think about this team's playoff chances. The 30 seconds goes by fast, but the Bulls, it's looking like they might stay out of the play-in, which, if you ask people like a week or so ago, they was probably panicking, but the Cavs losing a couple games here and there has upped their chances. They're still at the 5 seed. Not super confident in this team going to the postseason. And some Bulls fans will just tell you, we're just happy to be here. And I think that's fine. It's just been an up and down season, but they've dealt with a lot too. They've dealt with a ton of injuries. So for them to be in the postseason is a major W. Jokic is the MVP. It's gonna take some things for me to change my mind. So similar to last year, man. He was just so steady all season long. Once again, he did it last season and he did it again. And eventually, the rest of the field just crumbled, whether it was injuries or they just went through slumps. Giannis definitely has a case. I'm not even sure Joel's the second guy for me right now. I'm not sure, but I'm tired of MVP talk. But Jokic is that guy, and he has his team at the 5 seed right now. The Raptors, Toronto. I've liked what I've seen from them. They played the Timberwolves last night. I was able to watch that game, and they were down like 12 or so early on, like second quarter. And next thing you know, they're up 25 in the fourth. Like, this team is like that. Nick Nurse is one of the best in the league. That's why going into the postseason, they might not be favored in their first round matchup, but it's going to be a series because they have one of the better coaches. Pascal Siakam's playing like one of the better players in the league this season, and you never know what you can get from, Freddie, Gary Trent on any given night. Those guys can go off for 40 points on any given night. This team's gonna be dangerous. Jazz, I don't have a ton to say about the Utah Jazz, other than the fact that it seems like their offseason could be full of a lot of turmoil, possibly a lot of changes in that team, whether it's coaching, front office, I don't know, players. Like, there's gonna be some changes, man. Donovan Mitchell came out the other night after that Clippers loss, and he said basically it's the same shit. It's the same shit over and over. That's pretty much what he said. So changes might be coming in Utah, especially if they get eliminated in the first round. Cavs, I feel so bad for Cleveland, man, because this season it just started off so good for them. It started off great, and then Injuries just kept going. I was making sure I didn't skip a team, but I didn't. Injuries just kept going for Cleveland, and it's a shame, man. It's just a shame. Hopefully they still make the postseason. Hopefully Mobley is back by the play-in. Jared Allen, assuming that they do make the play-in. It just sucks, man. The injury bug is hitting him at the worst time. I did skip a team. I skipped my team. Isn't that the craziest thing? The Celtics. Man, Rob Williams, that injury is so big. It is really big time, and I think it's showing on the court. I'm not really counting the Toronto game, but last night you could see where Rob Williams would have been very, very helpful. Just very helpful, man. I think his playmaking is very underrated for a center. Like, it doesn't really get talked about that much. And man, I don't know how I skipped over my team, but yeah, they said if the Celtics make it to the second round, he could make his return, which is big, but the fact that they're going to miss him in the first round is a big time hit. Out of all teams, I don't know how I skipped mine, but the Timberwolves, they look like one of the hottest teams, and now I think they're on a 2-game losing streak. They've lost a couple games here and there, but another team that I think is just happy to be here. I have confidence in them making the playoffs, so I think everything will be fine. But a couple weeks ago, I was probably thinking like they could give the Grizzlies a run. I think that depends on if John Moran is back or not, though. But it would be nice for them to ramp it up a little bit, because they were right there potentially to get the 6th seed, and now it's looking like they're going to be a solidified playing team. Brooklyn Nets, right now 40-36. They're sitting at the 8th seed. They keep flip-flopping between 8 and 9. The thing that they have going for them is that going into a playing matchup, you're going to have the best player on the floor, and you might have the second best player on the floor. And even though I don't trust Steve Nash that much as a head coach, but I do trust KD and Kyrie Irving to win 2 games or win 1 game to get you into the postseason. That was pretty straightforward. Let's go back to the West. Talk about the Clippers. Paul George coming back for them is big time. I think the biggest thing is he actually looks healthy. He looks 100%. He played 31 minutes the other night. He looked like Paul George. He came right off the street basically, and just put up 34 points and just great stats, great defense, and made some big time plays down the stretch. This team just always plays like they have nothing to lose, and getting their best player back, or best player this season since Kawhi hasn't played, is big time, man. I would not want to face this team in the first round. And let's talk about the Hornets. They've been playing some of their best basketball lately. I like to see it, man. Miles Bridges been very good. LaMelo Ball obviously impactful. Interested what the future looks like for this team. I'm interested what moves they do make in the offseason if they do bring Miles back. That's kind of on my mind right now, but The chances of them making the playoffs, I'm not too sure, man. I think that Hawks matchup, which we'll talk about them, is going to be tough because both the Hawks are playing so well, and they will have the best player on the floor in that game. But the Hornets will have a chance, man, because they just play so free. And I love seeing Isaiah Thomas happy and playing basketball. CJ played his first game back in Portland last night, man. It's still kind of weird seeing him not in a Blazers jersey, but that's my guy. He's been playing so well since he got to New Orleans. Been putting up all-star caliber numbers. The future of this team looks great, but man, I mean, since they started the season, 1-12, they are 32-31, if my math is correct. 32-31 since they started the season off 1-12, and BI was out early on in the season. So just imagine if they had this roster all the way through, just how good this team could possibly be, man. Shout out to Willie Green. He's done a great job with the squad. 10 seed, we'll talk about the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young, super early. He had 30 points in the first half last night. Saw he has as many 40-point games in his career so far that Kyrie does overall, which is kind of crazy to think. John Collins has still not really been in the lineup that much, which is a little questionable, but this team's been playing probably their best basketball of the season of late. Or they did have a stretch early on in the season, but now they're a couple games over 500. They're playing really well, and they're gonna be scary because Trae Young is good enough to win you a game. So we'll see how it goes in the play-in for them. The next team on the agenda, the Lakers are back up to the 10 seed, so don't have much to say. I guess AD is supposedly maybe coming back next week. Don't know. I said it on somebody else's podcast or YouTube channel yesterday that they might as well just shut it down, man. There's really no stock in them trying to make the 10 seed and sneak their way into the postseason just to get obliterated in the first round. There's no point. Just get your guys healthy, go into the offseason, make the changes that you need to make, and come back next year a better team. Enough Lakers talk, man, enough. The Knicks, I love the youth movement, man. I don't like seeing, well, Julius Randle was getting booed at home. All the reports are looking like he's gonna force his way out, which I'm sure the way it's looking, Knicks fans will be happy for him to be gone, but that's fine. I like building with RJ as your piece moving forward anyways. Get Cam Reddish some minutes next year. I like Quentin Grimes, I like Quickly, I like Obi Toppin. They have a nice young nucleus, so let those guys rock out and hoop. Next, we got the Spurs. DeJounte just had a career high the other night, and his career high was 33 points. That's his new career high. Before that, it was 32, and it's just like, as good as he's been this season, you just think like maybe he'd have like a 37 or 38, but nah, he's just been steady. And it's crazy because he's improved so much from just the beginning of this season to now, like numbers-wise. Like he's averaging like 22 points a game now. He's been going crazy. Young star, him, and I think Keldon Johnson, who's taking a nice jump to this season, might have a Miles Bridges type leap next year. Shout out to my guy Devin running the NBA, man. Shout out to him. They're gonna have a chance, bro, to have a nice little duo. We'll see what the rest of their team looks like though moving forward. But I do like the Spurs team. How about the Spurs for 43 seconds, man? That's gotta be a record. But the Wizards, I don't have that much to say. I can't lie. Porzingis, he's looked solid. He's looked solid with them. Last night he was taking advantage of smaller matchups, which we never really saw in Dallas, and he was really putting those in the cup. Interested to see what him and Bradley Beal will look like next year. I think that's the main thing that's going through my head. And I think I mentioned this in my last video, but they got some new jerseys and they look fire. The Kings. We'll talk about Donovan Mitchell. He's looked very good since the Tyrese Halliburton trade. He's looking like the player that he probably could have been all season if he got drafted to a better situation. But since they made the trade to free up more guard minutes, he's been playing very well. Maybe moving forward, he'll be a good complementary piece next to De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis when, you know, they get their full team back. But if the plan was to make the play-in, the season was a wash. 30 seconds of Kings talk, man. Got y'all. The Pacers, they just got eliminated from playoff contention, I think officially. They're tanking. I love to see it. Indiana finally has a direction. I like to see it. Wonder if Rick Carlisle is going to be there for that, though, because I don't think he took that job to be with a rebuilding team. But I like the young piece they got. Goga Badatsi's been playing good for them. Jalen Smith's been cool. Tyrese, of course, has been good. They got pieces moving forward, and they got guys that move in the offseason. Malcolm Brogdon, maybe Miles Turner. We'll see what happens. Next, we got the Blazers. To be real, I have not watched really many Blazer games since they shut Anthony Simons down. But I will say, Brandon Williams was a good find. He's had some nice games for them. And that's really all I have to say. all I gotta say. As you can see, the lower we get, the less I have to say about teams. But Detroit, we can talk a fair amount about Detroit. I feel like I give them a lot of love though for a team that's 20-56. But Cade has made the Rookie of the Year race that much more interesting. He's been amazing. I think he's put up like 26-6 over his last 25 games, which is very good numbers for a rook. I think he's gonna take a big leap in year 2. I think him and Marvin Bagley is a nice little underrated duo, you know, moving forward. I think Marvin Bagley might have found a place, and I like to see that for him, man, because I was very high on him when he came out of Duke, which is not something I say about a lot of Duke players. That's only because I'm a Carolina fan, man. We gotta win Saturday, bro. We have to win. OKC, I was playing Purtle yesterday. If y'all don't know what that is, it's the NBA version of Wordle. And if you don't know what Wordle is, then I don't know what to tell you. But that was the first time I ever did not get a player's name right. It was Jeremiah Robinson Earl. And the only reason why I didn't get him, because I know he plays for OKC, but I wasn't thinking about him because the last time I watched an OKC game, he didn't play. I think he's injured or something, but he wasn't on the floor. So I didn't remember him. And they got so many players. And I thought he was a center too. They had him listed as a forward. They cheated. Last team in the East is the Orlando Magic. You know, moving forward, they have some, they got a lot of talented players, man. They got a lot of talented guards. You know, even though people are probably down on Jalen Suggs because his rookie year has not been like sensational, I think moving forward he'll be fine. We've seen guards like Darius Garland not have good rookie years, and now they're all-stars. I think he still has a lot of potential. I think Markel's gonna take a leap next season. We'll see about Cole Anthony too. He was pretty good most of this season too, but they got a lot of nice young pieces. Wendell Carter's been great for them too, and they're gonna have a high lottery pick. And last but not least, the Houston Rockets, which I feel like a lot of Rockets talk this season has been bad, but lately they've been the fun team that we expected. They've been nice. Kevin Porter Jr. has been hooping. Jalen Green has been hooping. They just both dropped 30 last night. I think KBJ had a 30, 12, and 12 game. Jalen Green had 32. Like, they've been playing really good basketball. I like what they got. I like their young pieces. Şengün's nice. Josh Christopher's nice. Usman Garuba, haven't seen that much from him, but hopefully he gets his opportunity next season. And I'm pretty sure they're going to have another top draft pick. So, future looks pretty solid for the Rockets. It would have been crazy if I got to the end of this video, started editing, and realized I didn't talk about my own team. That would be crazy, but I remembered last second, but we got it. Talked about all 30 teams for 30 seconds roughly. Some teams was like 45, some was like 20, but we talked about all 30 teams though in this video. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll be back next time with another one. Peace.